But I will say, not all forms of exercise are good for your mental health. Split squats, for example, I've actually done a study composed of one subject, it was me, which looked at the correlation between split squats and mental health problems. I actually noticed the more I did split squats, the worse my mental health was. Therefore, I can determine from my large sample size of me that split squats are actually bad for your mental health. So, you know what, I'm not saying I'm a scientist, but I'm just saying there's something there. I need a bloody haircut. Look at this mess. Getting a bit moppy on top, so I'll get that sorted tomorrow. Firstly, today is literally the day that the raffle starts. So if you didn't watch the last video, essentially what's happening is this. I'm going to be running a raffle. So anybody who buys one of the TFNL workout guides that can be found on the TFNL website, which is always linked below, gets entered into a chance to win one of three things. The first place is going to be free online coaching with me on a one-to-one basis for 2 months. The second place is going to be a program written for you by me based on your goals and what you need. And third place is going to be your order refunded. So whatever you've purchased in the month of February from the TFNL workout guides will get refunded to you once I've established winners in March. So basically that's it. All you have to do to enter is go on the old TFNL website, get a workout guide, and if you're on the email mailing list, which is at the bottom of the TFNL website, you may get sent a cheeky little discount code which could be used to acquire one of the workout guides for a discounted price. So it's in your interest to go on the TFNL website, have a look at the mailing list, and maybe even have a look at a workout guide if they appeal to you. But until then, we're looking at, I'm going to butcher the name, but forgive me, Sanne Vloet. I've butchered that. Please don't shout at me in the comments. I'm not very good with names, so I can barely pronounce my own name, but I try. And we're going to look at 6 life-changing healthy habits in 2024. And this is going to be quite applicable because a lot of people entering this new year have adopted these healthy habits, or what they deem to be healthy habits. And I thought I'd kind of give a bit of education on them and also maybe provide some insight that might indicate that what you might be doing could potentially be hindering your progress.
My number one thing for a healthy habit is creating a morning routine. You guys know how important a morning routine is for me. I feel these are even my highest performed videos of all time.
Again, I think having a morning routine is cool, can be fantastic, can be helpful for a lot of people, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily something that you need. Prime example is Chris Bumstead. He is probably arguably the most popular bodybuilder on the planet right now. Many of you, if you have a boyfriend or a partner, they may desire to look like C-Bum on a regular basis, and many of you may also know who C-Bum is. Essentially, he's actually done it, said in a podcast, he doesn't have a morning routine. It just happens how it happens. And he's done a pretty good job with his success. Do I think having one could help you maybe just organize your day a bit better and make life a little bit easier for you? Yeah, sure. But some people don't actually like routine to that extent. I'm quite into routine. I quite like doing the same thing over and over again. Other people like just winging it. Just know that it may help you, it may not, but you don't know unless you try. In my opinion, one of the best things you can do when you wake up is actually just drink water. Genuinely sounds so simple, but one of the best things you can do as soon as you get out of bed is just drink a bunch of water. Most people are pretty dehydrated, and I think you'd be surprised how much better you feel if you actually start drinking adequately.
Then number 2 is get your sunlight in the morning. Get 10 minutes of sunlight. It is so important.
In fairness, pretty valid. A lot of us are deficient in many things. One of those things is going to be vitamin D, which obviously comes from the old sun. Again, you can take it in supplement form, but like with most things, it's probably best to get it from its natural source, although supplements are fantastic to supplement, never replace. But oftentimes, especially if you live in like a colder climate where it's maybe not that sunny, maybe really rainy and miserable and cloudy, like England at the moment, and like England most of the year, a supplement would probably help you quite a lot. But if you can, I would definitely say getting morning sunlight might actually benefit you when it comes to just general energy levels throughout the day, and also mental health. One thing that people do really neglect is understanding how important things like sunlight and sleep, which we'll get to shortly, can be for your mental health. Realistically, if you're in a dark room for a very long time, you're probably going to feel a bit sad about it, like I would. And if you can get some sunlight and just observe the world of what's going on around you, it can just boost your mood naturally, just a little bit. Is it going to fix whatever might be hindering you in your life, whatever that may be? No, but it just might make things a little bit more manageable, or might put you in a better position where your baseline mood is slightly higher, so you might be a little bit more able to tackle things that might come your way.
Our third thing is get enough sleep. I feel we always talk about hours of sleep, which is like minimum of 8, but I think we don't talk a lot about the quality of your sleep.
Some of my clients are watching this and they're going to see what time I reply to their messages. Don't come for me right now. Do as I say, not as I do, because my sleep's a bit trash. But I also fully acknowledge how important good sleep is, not just for your recovery. Ideally, from like a hypertrophy perspective, you want to sleep as much as possible because it's more time for recovery, fantastic. But from just a quality of life perspective, potentially also health perspective, and definitely mental health perspective, you do probably want to sleep enough. Again, a lot of people will say, oh, my mental health is really suffering. I don't know what's going on. I only sleep for an hour a night, but I can't figure out why I feel so awful. I'm like, you know what? The hour of sleep you get each night is probably contributing, because again, especially when we're tired, especially when we're run down, especially when we're drained, a lot of things do happen. Immune system will suffer, performance will suffer, just our seemingly ability to overcome small obstacles in life, or just obstacles in life in general, seems to decrease and suffer. But I would definitely say sleep is bloody important. Take it from somebody who doesn't sleep enough. I should sleep more, and so should you. A good point is being made here. Quality and quantity are both equally important. Just because you're sleeping for a really long time doesn't mean you're getting good sleep. Monitoring your quality, provided you can do so in a healthy and non-obsessive manner, it is definitely not going to be a bad time. So don't just look at how long you're sleeping for, but also look at how well you're sleeping. So if there are things that you can do that could help that, limiting screen time before bed, room temperature, so many different things, but it's definitely worth investigating. And it might even potentially help your head a little bit too. If your head gets a bit spicy sometimes, maybe a little bit more sleep, or even better sleep, might just reduce spice levels even just a touch. Very quickly, if you're still here and haven't already, please do consider clicking the red button down below to subscribe to the channel, as I would very much appreciate it.
So my next tip would be build a consistent fitness routine. I cannot express enough how important this is.
We're not going to talk about the technique displayed on the old glute bridge, but we are going to talk about the importance of a fitness routine. Yeah, I do back it. Again, I kind of have to, considering I'm literally a fitness content creator. Would make sense for me to encourage fitness into your life, but fitness doesn't have to be running, doesn't have to be walking, it can be anything you want it to be. Swimming, cycling, weight training, Pilates, yoga, anything you want. I do think it's quite important to actually just be active and exercise. Again, it keeps you moving. It's also, in my eyes, one of the few aspects of your life you can directly control the progress you make. I've said this all the time, but you can work really hard at work, but you're not guaranteed a promotion. You work really hard in the gym, running, cycling, you are probably guaranteed results. And if you aren't achieving results, provided you're healthy, there's probably something you can control and do better that might accelerate that progress. Sleep better, eat better, work harder, whatever it may be. But I do think looking after yourself from a physical level can definitely impact how you are in yourself on a mental and emotional level too. Moving a bit more for a lot of people might not necessarily be a bad thing. But I will say, not all forms of exercise are good for your mental health. Split squats, for example, I've actually done a study composed of one subject, it was me, which looked at the correlation between split squats and mental health problems. I actually noticed the more I did split squats, the worse my mental health was. Therefore, I can determine from my large sample size of me that split squats are actually bad for your mental health. So, you know what, I'm not saying I'm a scientist, but I'm just saying there's something there. This is what my master's should have been, looking at split squats in your brain.
However though, my number 5 tip is having a wholesome, nutrient-dense diet. And again, this is not only just for the body, this is also for your skin.
Gonna be honest, you've put avocado in a smoothie. I'm questioning it. That looks a bit grim. Honestly, and you tell me it's nice, you probably like peanut butter too, and that's not nice. That's the enemy. Don't shout at me for that, by the way. People complain at me when I say I don't like peanut butter and I think pizza is overrated. Come at me. Please don't do that. I'll probably cry. Peanut butter, not for me. Pizza, get in the bin. Like, I tolerate it, but I don't really like it. Surprisingly, not really, but diet can definitely contribute to how we feel within ourselves. I think it was that old documentary with the guy at McDonald's every day, like Supersize Me. I think he even said that after eating just junk food, after eating fast food all the time, he just felt really bad in himself, really lethargic. Energy levels were pretty low considering his caloric intake was actually pretty high, and when he was in an energy surplus, he still felt like crap. So I'm not saying don't eat fast food, because I mean balance is pretty key. Being aware of what you're eating, taking a bit of pride in your diet, and just making sure you're kind of hitting the mark when you're getting nutrient-dense foods, not relying solely on shakes to get your calories in, and maybe getting some good whole foods in there, fruit and veg, it's going to go a long way. Not just from a recovery perspective and just a health perspective, but also when looking at performance. To build muscle, you need to make sure you're eating enough protein. I typically say, for me, in my opinion, at least 1 gram per pound of body weight. Again, you may disagree with that. From what I've read and what I've seen, the minimum of 1 gram per pound of body weight is a pretty good place to start, but also making sure your fat intake is high enough. Fat does not make you fat. Too many calories and not enough movement will make you gain fat. Fat is going to be pretty fundamental when you look at hormone regulation, so many other things, and also carbohydrates are a primary source of energy. Do you need carbs in your diet to survive? No, you don't, but I would definitely recommend having them, as they are going to be a fundamental energy source, and you may find that your workouts are better provided you have carbs in your diet and enough of them.
I think is extremely powerful is looking at the way you talk to yourself and practicing gratitude. We're often ourselves' biggest critics, and your words do mean something.
There are some people watching this I know this could definitely apply to, but if you do speak to yourself in such a negative manner, it's not going to make you feel very good about yourself. Again, I don't do like these gratitude journals myself. I do think they definitely have a time and place and certainly help people, and I would definitely encourage them if you think they could help you. It's not something I necessarily write down, but it's something I do consider. Sometimes I'm just pondering life, thinking about things. I do think, I'm thankful for this. I'm glad I have this. If I didn't have this, my life would be worse. But self-talk is definitely a big one. If you talk to yourself really badly, you're not going to make yourself feel better, especially considering someone whose opinion is probably really important to you and should be important to you. It's probably your own opinion. If that opinion is negative, it's not building you up and leading you to success. They always say, would you speak to other people the way you speak to yourself? The answer is probably no. There was actually a 7th tip listed in the description I don't think she's spoken about in the video, and that's cold showers. And this is going to be a bit of an interesting one. Do I think cold showers could benefit people? Absolutely. I think from like a mental health perspective, I believe they have actually been proven to have a positive impact on some kind of factors when looking at mental health. But then that leads into the question of ice baths. So many people would see athletes who jump in ice baths for recovery and whatever it may be. So cold exposure therapy to an extent, like a type of. But I'm actually going to present you with something. When looking at hypertrophy, so building muscle, ice baths have been proven to actually negatively impact the building of muscle, because what they do is typically reduce inflammation. And actually when you're building muscle, actually want to encourage inflammation within reason, obviously. Doing something that takes away from inflammation when you're trying to encourage inflammation can actually slow the building of muscle down. By how much, I'm unsure. It could be a percentage, could be more. Is it relevant enough for most people? Probably not. But what I would say is if you are going to ice bath, be wary of your timing. Again, I probably wouldn't do it around training. If I was going to do it, I'd probably do it on like a rest day or something like that. I maybe do it far out of training, so I would probably rather do it before than after. Also consider why. Are you doing it for your mental health? Then whether it's good for hypertrophy is irrelevant, because your mental health needs to be considered as well. If you do it for hypertrophy, then maybe you don't need to do it anymore. Maybe you could either do it for another reason, or maybe you could do something else entirely. Ice baths are typically something we try and avoid when looking at optimizing the development of muscle. You don't need to, it's just a consideration. And also when it comes to injuries as well, everyone's like, oh, you've got an injury, ice it. Don't be silly, don't do that. The person who actually came up with the rice method actually then later came out saying, please don't ice your injuries, it may well actually slow recovery. Things to consider, and if you didn't know, now you do know. Just because you've hurt yourself and banged your knee doesn't mean you should necessarily ice it. And just because you saw some guy in a UFC training montage jump in an ice bath after he bench pressed a few plates doesn't mean you should too. Like with all my videos, these are just my thoughts and opinions. But I'd love to hear yours in the comment section below, and I'd love to hear whether you have any healthy habits that you think have really enhanced your life. Please share them with the community, drop them in the comment section below, and let us all know what you think has made your life a little bit better. But until the next one, thank you for tolerating me. Thank you for tolerating the fact that I probably don't have as many healthy habits as I should. And thank you for tolerating the video.